My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
We acknowledge the traditional owners of country throughout Australia and recognise their continuing connection to land, waters and culture. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging. Welcome to This Song Is Yours, a music podcast where we chat to a new guest each week, talk about their life and creative endeavours, and talk to them about some of the music they love. Our show works by chatting to our guests about music, their songwriting techniques, and occasionally getting them to make you a playlist of the songs they love. Welcome to episode 190. I'm your host, Simon Fink. Our guest today is Meg Mac. One of Australia's favourite singer-songwriters returns later this week with her long-awaited third record, Matter of Time. In today's episode, we're speaking with Meg about getting away to the countryside, working with production duo The Donuts, and why we almost didn't get this third album. Here we go. Our guest today is an incredible pop and soul singer and songwriter from Sydney, Australia. She took out Triple J Unearthed Artist of the Year in 2014 and has been winning hearts over the world since, with her debut record, Low Blows, and its follow-up, Hope. Tomorrow, she releases her highly anticipated third record, Matter of Time. Please welcome to This Song Is Yours, Meg Mac. Hello, how are we?
Hello, I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thank you. Thank you so much for joining us today, Meg. Whereabouts are you joining us from?
I am at home in Sydney.
Beautiful. How is Sydney treating you today?
It's pretty good. It's not too hot, not too cold. Just in my lounge room. It's good.
Nice. That's good to hear that you're comfortable, you're doing well. It is a very exciting time at the moment. I know that there's a lot of excited people out there at the moment that this week they will be gifted with a brand new Meg Mac album in the form of Matter of Time. Mm-hmm. So firstly, congratulations, because this is a gorgeous record.
Thank you. Thank you.
Of course. How are you feeling about, I guess, with every new album, there's always like the turning on of the machine and, you know, getting back into that album cycle. How are you feeling going in with album number 3?
I'm feeling really good. I think I put everything I had into making this album, and I feel really proud of it. And like every single song, I know how much of myself I put into it. So I'm feeling very, no regrets. I just feel really good about the whole album.
Yeah, of course. This is the third studio record from yourself. And I know that there was a bit of a story that, and if you're okay to talk about it, this album is almost something that we were not going to be gifted. There was an album already kind of recorded and prepped and almost ready to go that was then put on the back burner in 2020, and you started again, which firstly I can imagine was a very difficult and brave kind of thing to do. Yeah,
it was... Looking back now, it's like crazy to think that I had the guts to do it, because I let it go so far. I think it was like maybe a week or 2 weeks before a single was going to come out. Like we'd even shot the music video, like the artwork, done photo shoots. Like it was so close to coming out, and I just snapped, and I was like, I can't. And I don't know how to explain it. Like it was just like I was like, I can't. I just knew that I couldn't do it, and I was like, I just have to start again, and there's something better that I can do. Yeah,
it is an incredibly brave move, and I kind of commend you firstly, because, as you said, videos are done, artwork's done. The fact that you didn't want to kind of, I guess, whether it were indirectly or directly, like budge on that artistic integrity of your own, knowing that it wasn't the right thing to release, I think is an incredible thing to do. And I think that obviously it has gifted us this brand new album, which is fantastic. But yeah, I guess lastly, just touching on the Locked Away the Vault record, if you will. Do you remember almost having that moment of, I guess, sitting there and realising and then having to then vocalise that to your team? Because I imagine that would have been difficult as well.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't just like have the guts to just like say it how it is. I said I needed a break, and I was like, I don't want to put this song out. I just like need a break, and kind of framed it as a pause. And then slowly, I think everyone started to figure out that I had a different plan that I was coming up with. Yeah.
I can also appreciate that approach as well. It's the you look after you, and then hopefully everyone kind of catches up approach. So I can very much appreciate that.
Yeah.
This new record is beautiful, as I've mentioned. I would love to talk about, I know that kind of during this break that you took, you got away, you went to the countryside of New South Wales, if I'm correct, and kind of took some time for yourself. Firstly, even without songwriting, how was that to kind of have that break and be able to get away from the hustle and bustle?
It was perfect and like exactly what I needed. I know like running away from your troubles is not always the solution, but I feel like it kind of worked for me. I think I just needed the kind of a change of scene and an escape to kind of like I had to sort through everything in my life, and kind of I had a bit of a meltdown, and kind of this whole album is me kind of trying to figure out where I went wrong and how I'd even got myself to the point of like making a whole album that I didn't want to release. Like, how did I let that go that far? And going back through all the voice memos, finding songs that I'd like forgotten about, and then I also started writing new songs, and just and it felt like, I think because I was out of the city and in this place that I didn't know anyone, and it was like a lot of during lockdowns, and I couldn't really do that much, so it kind of was a really perfect environment to be creative and just not rush or put pressure on myself.
100%. I'm curious, other than the obvious physical surroundings, was there any difference to your songwriting approach or your creative kind of techniques this time around compared to the last two records?
One of the big parts of this album was my friend from Melbourne. He was in lockdown, and he rang me, and he was doing these like songwriting challenges, and he was like, oh, do you want to do this challenge with me where we both make up a rule for the song in the morning, and then at like 5 p.m. we have to send each other our ideas. And we did the first one, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing, and just like kept doing them. And then they ended up being like 6 or 7 challenges, ideas that were like on my shortlist for the album, and then 3 of them are actually on the album. So Is It Worth Being Sad was the first one that was the first song I wrote that was like a new song for the album, where I felt like I finally like something clicked, and I was like, I'm on a new kind of trajectory now for the album, and then the rest of the songs could flow from there. So it was like, I think being in my own little world, and then a lockdown, and then like my friend ringing me with these challenges, it was just like I don't know, it was a perfect recipe for creativity and songwriting.
That's awesome. I'm kind of curious. I know that I think 2, and please correct me if I'm wrong, 2 of the 2 tracks from the previous record did make their way onto this new one. I think maybe slightly reworked. I think it was Something in the Water and Don't Cry were the 2 that got through. I guess, having a look at those songs, so they are a little bit different, and I'll talk about Don't Cry a little bit later. But for those two, what made them stand out in terms of, I guess, reworking them, or what was special about them to be like, no, I still want to hold on to these two?
Yeah. Well, those two weren't on the other album, but they were older. No, that's okay. They were like older ideas that I had. So like Something in the Water was like a demo that was in like my folder of all my ideas that kind of just got, I don't know, people just didn't notice it, or like it just didn't make the cut. But I always kind of felt that was a really special song for me. And then when I was like making this new album, I was like, finally, I'm going to put Something on the Water on this album. And then Don't You Cry was like, I had this voice memo, and it probably went for like 20 minutes of me on the piano singing Don't You Cry. And I was working with a songwriter, PJ Harding, in Sydney, and I like brought him this like voice memo. I was like, I have this song. I was like, I know that it's like really special, but it just goes round and round, and I can't kind of figure it out. And it was on piano, and then he was like, oh, let's put it on guitar, and he started playing guitar to the song, and then we like pieced together the song, and it kind of all made sense, and like it went from this like kind of never-ending wailing of me on the piano to like this nice 3-minute song, and that's like one of the like really special moments on the album.
I would 100% agree. I was, as I mentioned before, wanting to talk about Don't Cry a little bit later. I will bring it up now. I think that out of all the tracks, having listened to the album a few times, and as I've mentioned, I'll stop blowing smoke in your direction in terms of praising the album. It is a brilliant album, but I think Don't Cry stood out to me as maybe my favourite track on the record, and whether it is the lyrics, whether it's the, as you said, it is. There's a number of songs that are based on piano on this album, and then this one kind of just comes in with the guitar, and whether it's the I can't think of the word, this is embarrassing. But I guess it's the difference, until I think of the actual word, it is that difference between the piano and the guitar. For you, I guess, working with PJ, but where did the song, do you remember where it originally stemmed from? What was the original catalyst for writing the song?
Yeah. I remember starting it on piano, and I think all I had was Don't You Cry, No One Learns to Fly in the Daylight. I was kind of just thinking, when maybe you're not in a good place, and then you see others in a good place, and you almost maybe don't realise that everyone has, the good and bad things. And it's like, but no one learns to fly in the daylight. It's kind of like, we don't see them learning how to do that, or we just see them flying, but we don't get to see the other side. So that's where the idea started, and then ended up like fleshing it out. And then the chorus just is so sad. Like when I found the voice memo on my phone, and I was like, oh my God, it's like heartbreaking, because I think I could really hear how lost I was, and that I'm like definitely singing about myself, like, ooh, where did you go? Ooh, and I'm like, oh, where did I go? Like, how did I lose myself? And I think that's kind of what the song's about. So it's interesting, like, kind of finding these older songs and realising that how I felt, and I was putting it into the music. But Matter of Time is the song from the old album that made it to the new album, kind of like untouched, like it's still the same vocal. Yeah.
I apologise, I did get those wrong, and contrast was the word that I was looking for. I apologise, my brain got caught up on that word.
Contrast, yeah.
But as I said, Don't Cry, it is this gorgeous song. And it's an interesting thing that you said, that you're able to listen back to it and almost recognise with hindsight that something wasn't quite right. Do you, I guess, is this the first time that that's kind of happened, or do you usually find that?
This season, Instacart has your back to school. As in, they've got your back-to-school lunch favorites like snack packs and fresh fruit. And they've got your back-to-school supplies like backpacks, binders, and pencils. And they've got your back when your kid casually tells you they have a huge school project due tomorrow. Let's face it, we were all that kid. So first, call your parents to say I'm sorry, and then download the Instacart app to get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes all school year long. Get a $0 delivery fee with your first 3 orders while supplies last. Minimum $10 an order. Additional terms apply.
My dad works in B2B marketing. He came by my school for career day and said he was a big ROAS man. Then he told everyone how much he loved calculating his return on ad spend. My friends still laugh at me to this day.
Not everyone gets B2B, but with LinkedIn, you'll be able to reach people who do. Get a $100 credit on your next ad campaign. Go to linkedin.com/results to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply. LinkedIn, the place to be, to be.
You're usually using songwriting as a kind of almost psychological tool to be able to get out your emotions and your feelings that you might not be able to verbalize or vocalize in a just spoken way.
I mean, yeah, definitely. That's how I process a lot of things, is through singing and music. And yeah, it's such a weird feeling to hear back like things years later, and it's like almost like it's really sad when you hear it. You're like, oh my God, I was so sad, or I was struggling here. And it's really interesting to like be on the other side. And like Something in the Water is similar, where it's like there's something off, like there's something in the water, there's something in the air, like I can feel it, but I didn't know, what it was. And then now I'm like, when I sing that song, I'm like, I know what, I figured it out now. And the weirdest one is Matter of Time. So I think that was like the last song I did for the, first attempt at the album. And I'm like literally singing about how I feel trapped and like I'm not good, and then like, but I'm going to make something and it's going to be amazing, and like how long, it's only a matter of time before I snap. And like it's so weird hearing those lyrics. And then like I literally like a few months later I did snap, and then I did go away and try and make something better.
Are you now, with that in mind, are you now reading into some of the lyrics that you're writing now and then working out whether they're premonitions or predictions for the next 6 to 12 months?
Maybe. Yeah, what have I been writing recently? I don't know. I should think about it.
Maybe it might even be a third option where it's manifesting. If you're putting these things out, maybe it is the universe listening and creating those. So depending on what you're writing, you could be creating some incredible things.
That's true. Yeah, maybe I should lighten up my lyrics and nothing wrong with the lyrics on this record. It is a beautiful record. I know you mentioned PJ Harding before, who helped work with you on the record. I think PJ has worked with artists like Noah Cyrus, a few other people in the US. What was it about PJ that made you kind of want to collaborate with them? Well, I had one. I think he had just moved back to Sydney from LA. I think because of COVID, like he'd just come back, and then I just had, I think, 2 days just to meet him and try out a song. And then on the first day we worked on Only Love, and then I was like, whoa, I love this song, and like just working with him was really cool. And then I ended up just like, from having one day with him, kind of just like I kept going over to his house and like working on more songs, and kind of it was like not like planned, it just worked when we were working on the song. And our like, I don't know, it just like was really cool. And like for him to bring the guitar element to my music, which is not normally a part, like everything's very piano, but for it to still feel like it was me and my style. It just like, I don't know, just added this new dimension to what I was doing.
Of course. The musicality and the sonics of this record are beautiful as well. And as we mentioned, there was PJ. I know as well you worked with the production duo, the Donuts, who have worked with SZA. They've worked with Rich Brian, and I think they had a hand in a few tracks on the new Kendrick album, Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. For you, because a number of those names are quite hip-hop, and there is a certain R&B soul element to your voice, but it might not be the first thing that people kind of jump to or think of. What was it about the production techniques of Tyler and Sergio that kind of made you want to work with them?
Well, we did the same thing where we just like tried a song to see what it was like, and then I just loved how creative they were, and a lot of the songs they were getting were just like a piano and a vocal, and that was it. And then they would just like transform it, or like when we sent On Your Mind and they first sent the idea back, I was like, what? How did they even come up with this? Like they just like took the piano out, like you know, moving sections, like taking the lead part out of the chorus, and it was just like the harmonies and just like all these really interesting ideas that I just like, I would never come up with that, but when I heard it, I was like, oh, that's it. That has to be the song. And like Something in the Water, when I first heard the BVs they added, like that was Tyler singing. And then so now I have all these like male BVs section in this song. And those BVs didn't exist. Like there was nothing, like there was no other vocal part. Like it was just me singing, like no harmonies or anything. And then they added like this whole choir section, and it was just like or they just put so much energy into it, and took like they transformed the songs. Like they didn't just like do, you know, they didn't just like take my demo and put stuff underneath it. Like they were changing like the structure of the song and adding like new elements to it.
When you're working with other producers like that, how much of a brief, because it sounds like that there wasn't much restrictions on them at all, but do you give many kind of notes on what you're thinking about it, or do you just kind of say, here are the stems, here is whatever, you have free reign to kind of play around with it?
Some of the songs we did that, and then some I knew that I had like a little reference, so I might be like, oh, there's like the vibe of this track, I love the like drums or whatever, but mostly it was just like, do what you want.
That's very cool. I think that,
which sometimes
sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, just like sometimes works really well, but then other times you're like, oh, that's not quite it, and then you go back and forth, and then eventually you like figure it out.
Of course, I can imagine that there are some where they don't click just as easily as others, but obviously they do work once you find that kind of magic combination of whatever it may be.
Yeah.
The visuals for this record as well are beautiful. I think even before the album was announced, what was the music video? Is it worth being sad? I remember watching that music video and just finding it visually striking, because there's lots of panning shots. You're in a boat in the middle of a lake, kind of driving through a thunderstorm. It's done beautifully. And then when finding out in research for our chat today, working with Diligent, the creative director who's come on board to kind of help steer the visual or the creative aspect of the album, it did make a bit more sense. This person has worked with Phoebe Bridgers on her Punisher era, and also a number of, I think, 15 or 16 years with Radiohead. Firstly, I guess, what attracted you to work with Diligent, and then how has that process been since getting them on board?
Yeah, I think like seeing her work with Radiohead and like Phoebe Bridgers, that was what I was like, oh yeah, I definitely want to talk to her. And then it was like we had a Zoom call, and I just kind of loved her straight away. She's like really lovely, and we started just talking about the album, and I didn't really have a mood board because like I don't really like see, you know, some people are like they have the visuals and the colors and like they have everything, and I was like, oh, I don't really see music, like I need other people to kind of bring it to life. And yeah, she was like, oh, can you send me a mood board? And I was like, oh, I don't really have a mood board, but I wrote her this email and it was just like dot points of like a written mood board. And I was like, oh, I like it was a lot about kind of burrowing and living in the country and like my great escape, like this feeling of like escaping and starting again. And I was like the moonlight, the mist, the like tall trees, and like I didn't really want it to feel like warm or like sounds like I'm a vampire or something. I didn't want it to be like warm or like nice. Like I wanted it to kind of feel like a bit cold or like misty and moonlit rather than like sunlit kind of feeling. So like that was all my descriptions, and then she kind of went away and kind of started brainstorming, and then we started getting ideas, and like Alyssa, the director of Is It Worth Being Sad, this was her concept. And when I first saw it with like the storm and like the VFX of like lightning, and I was just like, this is crazy. Like I never would have thought of that.
It's an incredible clip, and we'll make sure that we put the link to that video in the show notes for this podcast as well, so anyone who hasn't seen it already can go watch it.
Cool, thank you.
I know that earlier in the year you were touring, I believe in May and June. There was about 5 or 6 dates around Australia, which people were very excited to see you back and playing shows with. As a very quick side note, since the inception of the podcast about 2 years ago, one of our most requested guests is Meg Mac. So firstly, I'm very glad that we were able to make that happen. Yes.
Oh, that's so cool.
A few friends of the podcast, Renee, Brittany, one or two others, very big fans of Meg Mac, but we continually get requests for you. So firstly, I'm glad we could do that. What was it like, I guess, getting back on the road and being able to connect with fans again and play some of these new songs?
Oh, so good. The first show was at the Forum in Melbourne. I realised like during the show how like the talking in between the songs, because like obviously I rehearsed with the band and like we got the show together, but then when I was like there in the lights and like talking, I was like, oh, I forgot. Like it took a couple shows to kind of get the flow of like talking to the audience and like kind of join like the transitions and stuff. But it was just like such a cool feeling. And my sister is in my band, so she was on the tour with me, and just like having these moments where we get to sing together, like we do Don't You Cry together in the show. And I don't know, it was just like a relief, like almost like like how like I'm back, or like I'm back in a place doing something I really love. It felt really, really nice.
That's
unfortunately,
awesome.
I didn't get to come to Adelaide.
Well, that was my next...
Sorry.
No, I appreciate the acknowledgement. I know before we spoke about that we're based in Adelaide, and I know that you're here in November for Harvest Rock Festival, I think with Crowded House and Jack White and some other acts. Other than Harvest Rock Festival, can fans expect to see you touring around the country in support of this album at some point in the near future? Yes, so
probably by the time people are listening to this, I would have announced a tour. Yeah.
That is very exciting.
Or should I not say it like that?
No. The news, I believe, will be out by that stage, and we can even leave that in, and it'll be a surprise to people listening to this at the time.
Okay. Yeah. So it will be announced. I'm coming on tour. Yeah.
We will make sure that once they are announced, again, we'll have those dates and ticket details in the podcast show notes for people to access. Lastly, Meg, usually we would ask our guests what they're currently listening to, if there's anything on high rotation for yourself at the moment.
I really love Telenova. I just discovered them like recently, and they're like my current favorite. I'd say Telenova. Yeah, I can sing along to every word.
They are a brilliant band. A brilliant. They're a young Australian band, but I feel like that the members are in lots of other projects as well, so they're not too young. I don't want to defame them by saying that either, but yes, a brilliant choice in Telenova. Mm-hmm. Meg, thank you very much for coming on the podcast today. I do appreciate it. Congratulations on Matter of Time, which is out later this week. But yeah, thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me.
And that's our show. A massive thank you to Meg Mac for her time. Matter of Time is out Friday, and we've left links in the show notes if you'd like to buy the record. We also want to give a huge shout out to Mariam at EMI Music Australia for helping out with today's interview. If you like this show, please subscribe wherever you get your pods and stay up to date when new episodes are released. We release new shows each Wednesday and Friday morning, and we now have a Patreon, which you can find within the show notes of this episode. You can follow the playlist profile on Spotify, and you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Until next week, cheers.
Acast powers the world's best podcasts. Here's a show that we recommend.
Are you ready for some hoops off?
Are you ready for some hoops off?
This is legitimately what you see people do right before they're going to fight. They take off their hoops, their earrings, because they don't want to get them ripped out of their ear, and they get ready for battle. Hey, I'm Liz.
And I'm Karen.
And you're listening to Hoops Off from Luminary.
On this show, we take our hoops off to bring you the spiciest, the saltiest takes on each week's games. We'll also be reading books by our favorite players, reviewing Shaq-sponsored products.
And of course, we'll be bringing the tea.
Should I prepare the hot water?
Oh, you better prepare the hot water. Please make sure to follow the show on your favorite podcast listening platform.
Acast helps creators launch, grow, and monetize their podcasts everywhere. Acast.com.